other. Guess who he gets to represent him? Daniel Horowitz. And Daniel may well be going up against the DA that prosecuted the murderer of his wife. Of course, we know about the Scott Gillespie case. Another teacher sex scandal that has got a lot more people in trouble. Maybe it's about time. And of course, we will talk about the Crystal Worthington deliberations, all that coming up.
Okay, Catherine, unbelievable. That OJ story is fascinating. Folks, you should definitely tune in for that one. Thanks, Catherine. We'll see you in just a few minutes. And right now, an enormous thanks to my guests here in New York, criminal defense attorney Javier Damian, as well as criminal defense attorney Joseph DiMatteo.
Thank you.
And out in Barnstable, Massachusetts, many, many, many thanks to Court TV's Beth Karras. I'm Adora Udoji, sitting in for Nancy Grace. You can catch Nancy tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern on CNN Headline News. Thanks so much for watching, and we hope you have a great evening. And please stay tuned for Catherine Crier Live. You really don't want to miss her show tonight, and that's coming up next. See ya.
Tonight, a brazen bandit gambles with his gun, and a murder suspect's getaway ends in a ring of steel and lead. Brace yourself for most shocking, deadly force. Premieres tonight at 8 on Court TV.
You really should take NyQuil for that cold. It'll relieve your symptoms and help you sleep. Sorry. You'll sleep like a bear, like a hibernating bear. You'll sleep like
before you sign us up for this reality show?
Yeah.
Give me that.
NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, fever, best sleep you ever got with a cold medicine. And for nighttime sinus relief, try NyQuil Sinus.
Will that light stay yellow for 3 seconds? Or 6? If the tire shreds, where will it land? Uncertainty on the road can lead to an accident. Now Allstate offers a little extra protection. Accident forgiveness. Starting the day you have it, your rates won't go up just because of an accident. It's time to make the world a better place to drive. That's Allstate stand. Are you in good hands?
Where did I park my car? Oh, no.
If you have trouble remembering what you don't write down, now there's an easy way to remember everything. It's called My Lil Reminder, the digital voice recorder that records without tape.
Blue section, row 18.
Then reminds you later.
Blue section, row 18.
Just press the button to record.
Milk, juice, butter, and eggs.
Then play back your reminder when it's time. Microtechnology makes it smaller than a business card, perfect for your purse, pocket, or briefcase. Or slip one on your key ring, and you'll remember everything.
That's left on Main Street, then go 2 miles and right on Elm.
So easy, even a child can use it.
Don't forget I'll be at Grandma's till 5. The number is 555-282-47.
Perfect for shopping lists, directions, phone numbers, the office, even at school.
Read chapters 6 and 7 for Friday.
And look, My Lil Reminder even has a built-in LED flashlight to give you a little extra light whenever you need it. Use it as a message center for the entire family.
Honey, don't forget to pick up Jessica at 7.
Other digital voice recorders can cost up to $100, but through this special TV offer, you can get My Lil Reminder with built-in flashlight direct from the manufacturer for only $9.99. And because everyone in your family will want one, call now, and we'll send you a second one absolutely free. You just pay shipping and handling. That's right, you get 2 My Lil Reminder digital voice recorders with built-in LED flashlights. And best of all, you get them both for only $9.99. But don't forget to call. Don't forget to call. This offer is not available in stores, so call now. Here's how to order.
Call 1-800-371-4765 to order My Lil Reminder for only $9.99, and we'll send you a second one absolutely free. So call 1-800-371-4765. Must be 18 or older to call. Call now.
The plan.
It's not just any kidnapping. It's a perfect kidnapping.
The pawn.
Follow me!
Stop that!
The price.
Where's my daughter?
Charlize Theron, Kevin Bacon, Dakota Fanning, trapped.
You tell him to not hurt my daughter.
If you hear a shot, kill the kid. The Court TV Most Wanted movie, tonight at 8.
Tonight, O.J. Simpson opens up about the murders of Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman and puts himself in the shoes of the killer. Sound crazy? Well, it's true. Then a first interview with attorney Dan Horowitz, now on the side of an accused teen killer. And another teacher charged with having sex with a student, and wait till you hear the twist involving her husband. Complete coverage of the day's hottest legal news stories right now. Good evening. I'm Catherine Crier. Thanks for joining me. Well, his was the so-called trial of the century, at least the 20th century. But it's now 2006, and O.J. is back, this time with shock, surprise, an admission, sort of. In a bizarre stunt, Simpson will expose how he would have murdered ex-wife Nicole and Ron Goldman if he had been the real killer. For grammar experts, it's a real-life example of the conditional and subjunctive tenses. The scenario is played out during an upcoming TV special and a book called O.J. Simpson, If I Did It. Here's how it happened. Take a look at the preview posted on Fox Television's website.
On Monday, November 27th, the interview that will shock the nation.
You wrote, I had never seen so much blood in my life.
I don't think any two people could be murdered without everybody being covered in blood.
O.J. Simpson, If I Did It, here's how it happened.
I can't do no more of this.
The two-night event begins Monday, November 27th, only on Fox.
All right, tonight the Goldmans are talking through their representatives, attorney Jonathan Pollock and spokesperson Carl Manders. We're going to hear from Simpson's attorney Yale Galanter in just a moment. But first, Harvey Levin, managing editor of TMZ.com, who covered the trial intensely back in 1994, is here with the latest. Harvey, all I got to say is what took him so long. I don't know that any of us can be really surprised at this audacious book and television special.
Yeah, Catherine, he is just a piece of garbage. I mean, it really makes me ill that he is putting families through this kind of torture. He's the worst human being I think I've ever met in my life. And, you know, this just proves what I've known for a long time. I mean, I'm not going to make fun of it. I'm not going to, you know, there's nothing clever to say about it. I mean, he killed these people. He slaughtered these people. And what O.J. Simpson, the only thing worse for O.J. Simpson than jail is obscurity. And he's become this farce in obscurity, and this is his attempt to get back in the spotlight.
All right, there is, I won't say just one thing of interest. I think the money is of interest, which I will talk to Jonathan and Carl about in just a moment. But something else, he says in the book he had an accomplice. Of course, this is all supposedly hypothetical, but let's play like we all think this is real. I assume it's real. And he talks about so-called Charlie. And the National Enquirer said they sort of tracked down, and Charlie is wealthy, well-connected, and was driving a Bentley to O.J.'s home that night. Any idea who this person could be?
Yeah. I mean, look, I have a theory. May I actually, can you indulge me in my theory here?
Absolutely.
I've had a theory for a while that what O.J. Simpson did that night is, I don't think he necessarily intended on killing Nicole. I think he went over there to slash the tires of her Ferrari. He had done that a couple of weeks before the murders, and he did it because this woman looked really hot in this car, and he wanted to clip her wings at night. And he had just been humiliated by her at the restaurant in Brentwood that evening, and I think he went over there with a cap, with gloves, and a knife to slash the tires. And if you remember, the door of the Ferrari was slightly ajar. I think what he used to do, and I'm sure he did that night, is he looked in the windows, he saw that she was taking a bath with candlelight. I think ultimately she must have heard something, came to the front door, and he basically cut her head off. And then Ron Goldman came along. I don't think he had any accomplices there at the scene. There were no footprints to bear that out, and there would have been simply that. He's right, there was too much blood. You would have seen those second set of footprints. You didn't. I I think he did get help at the house. I think somebody did throw those clothes away. I think that somebody did toss the knife. And I can tell you, I know somebody in L.A. who has employed somebody in O.J. Simpson's world back then for a long time. And I know that guy has told people I know that I wish that other person would not keep talking. I know too much. So I think that's what happened here, Catherine.
Okay, I don't know. Everybody wants to dance around. Nobody wants to get sued. But there have been several names over the years. Did Kardashian ditch the luggage? Was Al Cowlings around? Because we know Al drove the white Bronco when he was fleeing from the police or doing whatever it was he was doing. Are these the people we're talking about here?
Well, look, I mean, Al Cowlings, for a long time, he was his best friend. He would take a bullet for this guy. And, yeah, a lot of people think that Al Cowlings may have helped get rid of some of the items there. I'm not saying he did or didn't, but I can tell you that was a buzz for a long time in these circles. I mean, we did see Robert Kardashian with that mysterious, I believe it was Louis Vuitton suitcase walking down. Walking down that driveway, clearly, listen, Robert Kardashian's look was worth the price of admission there. I mean, the fact what he did when that verdict was read tells you everything about what Robert Kardashian knew about this case.
Yeah. Are there any names that haven't been frequently mentioned? Are there any new names that people are bantying about as a result of this book?
No. I mean, look, whoever helped him after the fact had to be somebody who, A, had access to Rockingham because there were security code issues with the house, and he's not going to get some stranger. Listen, O.J. Simpson had a bunch of sycophants in his world, and if you got sycophants, then why go to the outside? Get the people you know and trust. So clearly, I mean, this is all baloney. Listen, Catherine, if he's a liar, that's the least of his worries. Right. So whatever he's saying now about who it is, forget about it. I mean, this is somebody who was in O.J. Simpson's world who helped him clean up as he flew off to Chicago.
Okay, nobody seems to be contradicting the reports about $3.5 million for this endeavor. What do your people tell you?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is sweeps time. I mean, he's getting, there are two nights on sweeps on Fox. They're dealing with a book right now. I think he's going to make some big money. And you know what? O.J. Simpson has made, no matter what anybody says, O.J. Simpson has made a lot of money under the table for a long time. He has. He denies it. He's a liar. And he has denied it. And he's basically, he's shoving it in the face of Fred Goldman. The audacity of this man to murder his son and then act like Fred Goldman has done something wrong just proves what a piece of crap O.J. Simpson is.
Yeah, well, I think that sort of sums it up. All right, let me bring in Jonathan and Carl. Jonathan, obviously we're very unbiased in our opinions of O.J. Simpson, so I think you're in safe territory. But the first question is, what are you doing to get your hands on whatever amount of money is changing hands?
Well, Catherine, respectfully, this isn't about the money at this point. This is an outrage.
Of course it's an outrage.
It's a national outrage.
But it would be some gratification that this man is not going to profit one dime from it.
Well, look, we have already taken steps to try to take away his ability to make money. That process is still running through the court system. But the American people need to reject this. The American people need to not watch the show. The American people need to not buy the book. That will send Simpson the message that he's not the man that he seems to think that he is.
Okay, how much are you going to bet that that plea is successful? Although I agree with you, and I'm certainly not going to shell out a dime, and I'm not going to be watching.
Well, time is going to tell on that. Is there a segment of society out there that is interested in what Simpson has to say? Unfortunately, that's the case. But the bottom line is this. This is an outrageous act by an outrageous man who has been thumbing his nose at the truth, at the courts, and at the Goldman family for over 10 years. And for the most part, he has gone unpunished for that murderous act that he committed some 10 years ago. And I can assure you that the Goldman family is going to do everything they can to continue to keep Simpson, keep society aware of Simpson and his murderous activities and what it is that he has done so wrong to them.
Okay, you're going after the one real quick question, then I'll get to Carl. You're going after sort of the intellectual property, the use of his name, that intangible asset. I mean, are you now in the process of doing whatever's necessary, whether it's going to Fox and HarperCollins, the Reagan imprint, whatever, to determine how much he's getting and put a hold on this money?
Look, we just found out about this yesterday. I don't think we have fully resolved what our legal strategy is going to be. When I first found out about this about 3 weeks ago with the National Enquirer article, I called Yale Galanter, I called Simpson's attorney, I asked him whether there was any truth to this, and he told me point blank there is absolutely no truth to this whatsoever. I know you're going to have him on your show here in a couple of minutes. You ought to ask him about that.
Oh, I've got that question first on the list. All right, Carl, the reaction of the Goldman family. I mean, is there anything that Simpson could do today that would really surprise them?
Nothing that O.J. Simpson could do would surprise them. You know, we do not pay pedophiles or drunk drivers to glorify their crimes on TV. O.J. Simpson needs to be shunned. Fox Network needs to be shunned for participating in this horrible, horrible thing. The public needs to tell the booksellers in America not to carry this book. Walmart shouldn't carry this book. Barnes & Noble should not carry this book. And Fox Network should hang its head in shame for what it's going to do. It's absolutely horrible. It's an outrage. Every American should think what they would think if their son or daughter was murdered and the murderer got on national television and told how he killed their loved one. It's outrageous, and the American public should not stand for it.
But privately, Carl, I'll bet in a lot of circles, while people will be kind of wanting to wash their hands, their executives going, this was a coup. This is going to make a fortune.
Yes, and the executives that do that and the people that pay money and the people that participate in his glory should step forward and participate in his shame. It is a shameful thing. You know, people are moral creatures, and everybody makes moral choices. And when you decide to make money for your network and make money for your company by indulging in this sort of sick activity, it's just an outrage. And the American people ought to respond to it and let Fox Network know that they are just sick and tired of people who are doing this kind of thing in our society. Okay, before I bring in Yale, I want to first thank Carl and Jonathan very, very much. But I also want to go to some sound bites. We went out on the street, talked to some tourists there in Times Square to see what they thought about all of this. Let's listen.
How he would kill his wife if he had done it. Is it going to be just a transcript from the old trial?
The verdict is 12 years old already. The guy was guilty of sin. He got away with murder, literally. It's just a joke. So whatever interview he's giving, it's not a lie.
It's rude. I think it's really arrogant. I think it's really rude and inappropriate.
OJ disgusts me, truthfully, and I was absolutely horrified that he would be doing this, and I wouldn't watch it for anything.
At this point, he's living on scandal. I think he enjoys the notoriety, and I think it's shameful. I really do. I think it's very disrespectful of the dead.
Okay, I wouldn't trade places with Yale Galanter right now, but he courageously said, okay, I'll come on and deal with this.
I want you to know, only for you would I do this interview.
Well, regardless of OJ, I think very highly of you, and everybody on air can just know that and deal with it. But I want to give you back a quote that at least the National Enquirer said, you said to them, if anyone comes out with such a book, I'll go on every talk show and call it crap. You going to call it crap?
I have already called the writers of that article and apologized. I found out about the book Monday morning when OJ was on the way to do the interview with Miss Reagan, and I'm sure you already know she sat down with him for a few hours, did the interview here in Miami, and had since had some kind of a marketing deal with Fox Entertainment to distribute those film rights. But that was the first time I came out. I had knowledge of the book. The other thing I want to say, Catherine, just indulge me for 1 second, is I do owe Jonathan Pollock an apology because he did call me. He did ask me whether or not there was any truth to the book, and I categorically told him there was not because the information that I had at the time was that there was no book.
What would you have advised him had he come to you before signing a book deal on this, before agreeing to do this interview, would you have said, go for it? Would you have said, don't do this? What would have been the advice?
Well, all right, let me try and break that question down into two parts for you. One is, as you know, I cannot discuss with you my confidential communications with O.J.
This is a hypothetical
but
I'm
you
proposing.
do know that I always do take the high road. So if O.J. and I would have had that type of discussion, I would have categorically been against doing the book, capitalizing on the book, or generating any revenue from that type of a book.
All right, now what about the money? Because everybody's reporting $3.5 million, and if he's doing it for the money, I'd think that these contracts are going to be pretty public, and a judge could require him to hand that cash over, so why do this?
Well, I will tell you that this was not a contract that went through my office. We actually had nothing to do with this. I was kept in the dark on the entire project, and again, didn't find out about it till Monday morning, so I do not know any of the details. I know some of the details. I know that O.J. is contractually prohibited from giving interviews for the next 30 days. I know that Regan Publications is controlling all the marketing rights and all of the interview rights for the book and for Simpson for a certain period of time. But other than that, I really don't know what any of the financial arrangements were on the book.
Okay, but a very public deal like this, and this is sort of, you could answer it generically. If someone has a judgment, this $33 million judgment outstanding, and this asset is out there in the public domain, it seems to be something that they could go for. Correct?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think if Jonathan and his team put their heads together, they can go after Fox and find out what the financial arrangement was between Fox and Regan Books, and I think they could go after HarperCollins and Regan and find out what the deal was with Simpson and the people behind the book.
Okay, I want to ask you one more question. If you had information about an accomplice in a murder case, this guy not being your client has already been acquitted and cannot be retried, would you have any ethical obligation to turn that information over to authorities?
Not at this point. No.
Okay. Is there any... Go ahead.
You know, keep in mind that, you know, O.J.'s been tried, he's been acquitted. In terms of the murder of Ron and Nicole, I mean, that issue is over. There's a new chapter. The only issue that's left on the table is the $33 million judgment, whether or not the Goldmans will eventually be able to collect money on that judgment.
Are there any other charges we've seen with cops, the violation of civil rights coming after a murder case, this kind of thing? Are there any other charges, criminal charges, that could ever be brought against O.J. for this crime?
You know, I actually spoke to a law professor about that today, and the conclusion that everybody is reaching is that any murder suspect who was tried for any murder in 1995 would be absolutely immune from any type of prosecution in 2006.
Okay. Let me ask you one more question. How are the kids doing? I mean, I can't imagine this book coming out and his children with Nicole having to take a look at this.
You know, I spoke to O.J. about that. I mean, my understanding is the kids were behind the project 100%. And they're okay with it.
Well,
I mean, whether that's true or not, you know, I'm sure that eventually the children will be giving their own interviews and they could speak for themselves. But my information is that they're okay with it.
All right. Well, Yale Galanter, I appreciate you coming on.
My pleasure, Catherine.
You bet. Harvey Levin, as always, from DMZ.com. Thanks a lot. Now, still ahead tonight, another teacher-student sex scandal, but this one has a twist involving her husband. Trust me, doesn't get any more bizarre than this. But next up, Dan Horowitz, his own wife, brutally murdered by a teenage boy. In his first TV interview, Dan's going to tell us how he's dealing with his newest client, a 16-year-old, himself accused of murder.
Tonight.
He was probably standing up and just got hit in the dark by this massive object.
Some crimes happen too fast to be seen.
I felt like a big monster came out of the water and bit my arm off.
Some crime scenes hide all the evidence.
Lake leaves no trace. It just erases any sign of what happens.
And sometimes forensic science is the only way to answer the question.
It was really a guessing game at that point.
What happened?
It just feels so close to death. It's creepy.
An all-new Forensic Files, tonight at 9, only on Court TV.
Do you often struggle to get to sleep at night? Do you wake in the night and can't go back to sleep? Maybe it's time to ask your doctor if Lunesta's right for you. For a limited time, you're invited to take the Lunesta 7-Night Challenge. Ask your doctor how to get 7 nights of Lunesta absolutely free and see if it's the sleep aid you've been looking for. Non-narcotic Lunesta helps you fall asleep quickly, so take it right before bed. Be sure you have at least 8 hours to devote to sleep before becoming active, because Lunesta will help you sleep all through the night. Until you know how you react to Lunesta, you should not drive or operate machinery. Do not take Lunesta with alcohol. Most sleep medicines carry some risk of dependency. Side effects may include unpleasant taste, headache, drowsiness, and dizziness. Hurry! The Lunesta 7-Night Challenge is only available for a limited time. Get your coupon at lunesta.com and ask your doctor today.
And everywhere I go, there's always something to remind me of another place and time.
You've waited all year for endless shrimp, and now it's almost gone. Don't miss the only time of year to enjoy all the shrimp you can eat. Endless shrimp ends soon, only at Red Lobster.
Quench that dry! New Sunsilk Hydra TLC. Get therapy.
What if you could get rid of credit cards that don't offer meaningful rewards and get one that offered more ways to earn more cash than anyone else? Take charge with Discover Card. What if you could get rid of credit cards that aren't upfront and clear and get one that gives you the tools and information to make decisions that work for you? Take charge at discovercard.com/whatif.
Tonight at 8, the premiere of Most Shocking, Deadly Force. At 9, an all-new Forensic Files. And at 10, Psychic Detectives. Court TV, seriously entertaining.
Attorney Dan Horowitz is someone familiar to all of us. Of course, a guest commentator here on Court TV, tragically is the husband of a murder victim. In August, 16-year-old Scott Zaleski was convicted of killing Dan's wife, Pamela. But now, Dan has been hired by the family of another 16-year-old. Andrew Mantas is charged with beating his own mother to death with an aluminum baseball bat. Tonight, with the accused teen killer, Dan is here in his first national TV interview, and with him, San Francisco Chronicle reporter Henry Lee, who's covering this latest teen tragedy. Also, criminal defense attorney Paula Canny, who's a close friend and colleague of Dan's. I want to start with Henry, because Henry, you can sort of objectively, what has your reporting discovered? Take us through the crime.
Well, a couple weeks ago, Andrew Mantas allegedly hit his mother in the head repeatedly with a baseball bat in their home they shared in Danville, which is in Contra Costa County. It's a well-to-do town in Contra Costa. He did report hearing voices, believed that he was possessed by demons. He went to his church the weekend before he allegedly did this, and now he is facing a murder charge as an adult, Catherine.
All right, the parents were going through a divorce. Any word from family members, others? Did this seem to exacerbate his problem? Was there a long-standing history with this kid of mental problems?
Well, the alleged mental problems evinced themselves at least in the week before this happened. In fact, 3 days before the homicide, Andrew Mantas' parents' divorce was finalized. The couple had been married for about 20 years. In the few days before this homicide, Andrew went to a neighbor's house, knocked, tried the door many times, tried to get in, told the neighbor that he had received phone calls to go into the house. Of course, he had no permission to do that. Then, of course, he visited the Greek Orthodox Church in Oakland with his mother and said that he had been hearing voices. So a lot of the mental issues were made known to us just shortly before the homicide.
Right, and I understand she was found about 1:30 a.m. Who found her?
We know that a number of neighbors in this very quiet townhouse complex repeated hearing noises At about that time, they called the police. Police surrounded the area, and shortly after that, they did find Andrew Mantas at a golf riding an allegedly stolen golf cart about 3 hours after this killing.
All right, he had a knife with him, but that apparently had nothing to do with the case, the murder case?
That's right. The baseball bat was found at the crime scene, at the house.
All right, Dan, you know, there are a lot of people that would be surprised, think it was difficult for you, even say, well, maybe this is, you know, this is a great defensive move on the part of this young man's family to hire you, because standing in front of a jury, jurors might think he would never represent a 16-year-old capable of beating a woman to death, particularly his own mother.
Well, Catherine, you know, the entire family, Demetra, his mother's brother and sister, they're all behind me representing Andrew, and I'm doing it without charge. I'm doing it free. And the reason that I can represent him is that although the act itself is so horrible, it's indescribably terrible, the reasons behind this young man, what made this young man get to this point, are so different from the type of act where there's a deliberate, brutal, almost joyful killing. Here it's just the opposite. Andrew and his mother worked together to try to cure Andrew of these voices, of his problems, and they failed. But they failed together, and he is in such deep pain. He's mourning. He's in such excruciating pain upon hearing of his mother's death, and yet so out of our world as we know it. It's just a terrible, pathetic, tragic case, and he needs help.
What sort of history have you uncovered? Whether I know they're doing toxicology tests. I don't know if you've gotten any drug reports yet, but psychological history, treatment history, this kind of thing.
Okay, now I'm early to the case, Catherine. I got in on it when I was on vacation. I've met with him about 12 hours. But they did a CAT scan yesterday at the psychiatric hospital. We didn't ask for it. The doctor said, we want to do a CAT scan. So they're looking for very deep-rooted physiologic damage or injury to his brain. They know there's something wrong. And yes, there are toxicology tests that the police ordered. You know, Catherine, this is a case where I believe that the police, the prosecutors, and my office will work together to really understand what happened to Andrew. Not every case is completely adversarial. There are cases where you can cooperate.
Well, I read a quote from someone in the DA's office that there's fairly significant indication that the boy suffered from a mental disorder that will be revealed more clearly as the case progresses. So it does, I mean, they haven't said it raises to the level of a legitimate insanity defense, but that's pretty surprising because we don't hear that early on from DAs very often.
And yet it's their job because they're supposed to do justice. They're supposed to accomplish justice. And the law allows this young man to be punished the same as a cold-blooded, deliberate murderer who enjoyed what he did. And it's up to my office and the prosecutors to find out whether he fits that horrible mold or whether he's a sick, injured, pathetic person who did a horrific thing. And they have to be treated differently. One person has to be punished in a far different manner than somebody who's ill.
Well, they've already, though, said they're seeking adult murder charges. That seems to be a very aggressive action, while balanced, on the other hand, with this sort of mediating point of view.
True, but think about it from their point of view. They've got a horrific murder, and they can't just, without a full set of facts, just say, okay, we know he's mentally ill, treat him like a juvenile, and let him get out when he's 23 years old. They have to be much more cautious than that, and I wouldn't expect them to act in any manner different than that. I know Hal Jewett, obviously, very well. I trust him, and I trust Dan Cabral.
He prosecuted Pamela's murder, for heaven's sakes.
Right, and I know how honest and how straightforward he was in his handling of that. So he'll be the same way in this case, and I think we'll work well together. Him and Dan Cabral, his entire office, I think, will look at this case from a very objective, professional standpoint. And my job is to get this young man tested, have real doctors look at him, not people who are paid to give an opinion, but people who are straight down the line, and then come to a truth as to what's wrong with him.
All right, Paula, what do you think about this? Because for the DA to come out pretty quickly and say, fairly significant indication he suffered from a mental disorder, and yet, you know, we're still hearing the voices sort of came about in the last week. Maybe there's a bit more of a history, but that's a pretty significant statement from the DA's office.
Well, I think it is a significant statement, but they made it because it's true. There's absolutely no question that Andrew is suffering from some kind of intense mental disorder. I don't know what it is. I don't believe he's had a diagnosis because he wasn't allowed to avail himself. I know that he was taken to several hospitals who simply discharged him. So as Dan is saying, he hasn't really received appropriate treatment because he hasn't really been given the appropriate diagnosis. So having heard voices and all the people having heard that, you know, Andrew heard voices, of course the DA's office has to acknowledge that which is true. What is disturbing to me is the quick decision to prosecute him as an adult. He's been in a mental hospital until I think probably last night. So, you know, the DA's office, the district attorney's office, is clearly taking a very aggressive position. And that's what, you know, that is what they do. Dan is, you know, being the consummate and conciliatory, hoping they can work together. But it's like, I don't mean to be jaded, but I am a little bit. But DA's office's job oftentimes are to, you know, get prosecutions and to prosecute as an adult when
but doesn't it protect their alternatives? I mean, basically, they can go for the highest charge. They can always back off. They can always plead this out. They can always drop it back down again.
Well, I agree, but that's true. That is true, but it's like they've already set in motion this system to go as an adult seeking first-degree murder, and when they could at this juncture say we don't have enough information to decide how best to proceed. And you know, that's probably the way that I would prefer that they had done it. But, you know, I'm not a DA anymore.
No, but you're a commentator extraordinaire.
Thank you.
You very much, Paula. Dan Horowitz, Henry Lee. Now, when we come back, Colorado teacher accused